Podcasting from Astrolab Studios, this is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast where we revisit sci-fi, fantasy, and just plain weird shows that have faded from the collective consciousness and didn't quite make the impact that they intended. This week, Tekwar, episodes 3 and 4.
Now then, your name is Falcon?
You know what it is.
See? Nothing.
Must be government issue.
Do you know the Tech Lord Janus?
Never heard.
Don't worry, nothing's done.
Are you part of his syndicate?
I don't know what you're. This is torture. You can't do this.
I'm not doing anything. You control the machine. Are you part of his syndicate? Do you know what Janus is hiding at?
Merchants and shipping.
Get on it.
Welcome to Continuum Drag. We're your hosts, Luke and Jordan, and welcome back for the second episode of Tekwar.
If you like the first one, there'll be more on this one.
That's true. There's more Tekwar to talk about. But before we get into that, let's just do a little housekeeping. We've been listening to the first episode, and one thing I want to say first is I kept saying Stargate and below. I do not want to watch Stargate. It's everything below Stargate. That's rule number one.
I like that you're fixated on that rule, as if that's going to make or break this. That Stargate is too high.
Too high caliber.
Yeah, too high caliber.
Gotta have less series than Stargate. And the other thing is we've been talking about how do we get out of a series that is too unwatchable.
Right.
So I think we've got a plan for that. Now we can get the details here, but I think the idea is we'll have some sort of escape clause, or maybe we're going to come up with a better sci-fi pun for what this is.
Right.
We don't have to right now. We'll figure it out at some point. But basically, we've already established we're going to rate the episodes at the end of each podcast episode.
By the way, I really wish this was a Christmas podcast, and then it could just be Escape Clause, which also sounds like the fifth installment in one of those terrible Tim Allen movies, The Escape Clause. Actually, that might have actually been one.
No, if it's not, we'll pitch it later.
Pitch it to Tim Allen?
We'll start a secondary podcast where we write the escape clause.
Agreed.
So with the scores of each television episode, we're going to watch a bare minimum requisite number of episodes.
Okay.
Well,
how many do you think that's going to be?
I think 6 or 8.
Okay.
What do you think, 6 or 8?
I think 8.
8? You want to commit to a minimum of 8 episodes?
I think that's about is probably the highest threshold that one can take of a terrible TV show. I mean, I will say this again. I reserve the right to at any point just say I'm out, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I think 8 episodes is giving is more fair than some of I'm assuming some of these shows maybe deserve.
All right. Well, at the 8 episode mark, then we will do an average score so far.
Okay.
For the series. What is the average the series as a whole needs to fall below? 5 out of 10?
I would say 5.
All right. I agree. I think 5 out of 10. I thought about 4, but I think halfway decent is is the bare minimum we should expect.
I think it's the same for school. It's 50%. If you can't get half the things right,
you flunked.
You flunked, yeah.
So okay. So after 8 episodes of the show, we will then check in on it series' current average, and going forward, each additional episode will reevaluate that average. So if it falls at 8, if it falls below 5, we're using the escape pod. I don't know. Is that what we're calling it?
The escape pod? Sure, let's go with that for now. The EP.
Push the self-destruct button. We're getting in the escape pod.
This is getting worse.
Of the series. But basically, we got to get to 8 first before we can officially use the escape pod. Great. I think that's it for housekeeping. I want to do a little segment here where we look at series merch.
Okay.
If you're a real science fiction television series, at some point you have to have merch. Action figures, comic book, something. There's got to be some spin-off material. I think that's the sign of a true franchise.
It's funny you mention that because I did do a little bit of looking online this week to see if there was any merchandise, and then 2, if there was any just weird fan art. And I'm interested to see what you found, because I found very little, especially in terms of the merchandise, unless you're looking for used copies of Tekwar.
I will say it's a very disappointing level of merchandise for Tekwar. But
Yeah.
there is still some merchandise.
So what'd you find?
Well, first of all, obviously, Tekwar is based on 9 William Shatner novels. There was Tekwar,
Yep.
Tech Lords, Tech Lab, Tech Vengeance, Tech Secret, Tech Power, Tech Money, Tech Kill, and Tech Net.
If I had to pick just walking by a shelf of novels, Tech Lords would be the one I'd go for.
They published between 89 and 97. That's nearly a decade of tech novels.
Well, they must have done well enough that they kept publishing them. I assume that his name is enough to not only get the books published, but to keep them in enough circulation that they keep making them.
Well, the publishing schedule was crazy. Like the first one came out in 89, and apparently he wrote it on the set of one of the Star Trek movies.
I read that too, Star Trek 5. Which, by the way, if you watch Star Trek 5, you go, hey, maybe you should spend a little more time working on that movie.
He then went on, they then released 2 in 91, 2 more in 93. So those are 2 tech novels a year. And then after that, it was like 94, 95, 96, 97, like they one a year. He slowed it down a little.
I should have really pulled this up, but I'm pretty sure it's the same person who ghost wrote all of them. And this poor son of a bitch just was given the back of Bazooka Joe comics with ideas written on, and he just had to go home to his wife and go, what am I going to do with this stuff? He's got ideas and they don't make any sense, and he just had to make a diamond out of that pile of poop.
Speaking of the author, William Shatner, have you read a William Shatner novel before?
Here's what I've read. Not a novel, but in high school, I read both of his autobiographies of his Star Trek years, which was the Star Trek years. And then the second one was his the movie Star Trek years. And I actually remember the reason I read the first one was I was avoiding going to English class because I hadn't done an essay. And so I was hiding in the library. And then I was like, well, I'm here. I might as well read something. So I read one of them and I thought it was really good. So I read the next. So I read both of them back to back.
Just to recap, you cut class to hide in the library and read William Shatner.
I actually don't know what my strategy was. It was, I'm just going to keep avoiding things, but I didn't want to just go home, I suppose.
Well, if you left campus, you'd get in trouble.
Yeah, that must have been what it was. So I just hung out in the library.
It's that middle ground. It's safe middle ground.
And I can assure you that essay never did get written.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, at least we have closure on that.
Yeah.
I have read one
Oh, did you really?
Shatner novel.
Which one? Oh, it's not the Star Trek one where he's the Borg pick up the dead body of Kirk, is it?
100% it's that one.
Oh, that's a good guess.
It was William Shatner's sequel to Generations.
Yeah.
Because of his disappointment in how Generations ended.
I actually remember reading an article about it that he was disappointed and he thought, well, this will be the real, because he didn't want Kirk to die, I guess, because that was a cash cow that he didn't want to go away. I actually remember the cover of that. And I thought, oh, it's so lame. But so how was the book?
I mean, I couldn't have been more than 13, but it was great. They went to the Borg homeworld, which was in the 4th dimension. It was real weird.
Oh, the Borg have a homeworld, huh? That's not
They
canon.
have a home dimension.
A home dimension. Also, I like that we've now spent more time discussing Star Trek than actually Tekwar.
You're right. Let me get back to tech merchandise.
Okay.
All right. So obviously the novels happened, but there were also a series of comics.
That's right. Yes, I saw it. Was it Dark Horse who did it?
No, actually, if you want to actually go to the Google Drive, there's photos for you.
So what do you want me to go into?
Let's go into the first image there. I believe it's called Tech World.
Oh, yeah.
Those are images of the first 24 issue run of the comic strip Tech World, which ran from 92 to 94.
It's so early 90s. It's painful. Doesn't look very good.
It's Marvel Comics, though.
Oh, yeah, Marvel. How about that? This must have been just before they filed for bankruptcy.
The comic strip was then revived in 2009.
Was it really?
As Tekwar Chronicles. Have a look at that Tekwar Chronicles. Though. It's a real cheap looking comic.
You know what's funny? I saw, this is one of the things when I was looking at to see if anyone had done any sort of fan art, and someone has done a very loving recreation of this painting. Very, very similar. I like that they gave Shatner the hair part that he doesn't really have, because it's a toupee.
Well, this is 2009 too. This is he does not look like that in 2009.
No, he does not. He was already on to wife 6 or 7 at that point, wasn't he? That one had already drowned in the pool.
Haven't I? Yeah, that was a newsflash to me.
Yeah, we discussed that off the air yesterday, how a theory, a rumor, a supposition Shatner killed one of his wives, the one that they found in the pool. Now I don't know anything about that.
I mean,
But I've met someone who has a very strong opinion about it. And the first time Shatner was mentioned, he's like, he killed his wife, as if like he's Richard Kimball trying to avenge his wife from the One-Armed Man or something.
before we started this Tekwar binge watching, I had never heard this before. Now I've heard it from you, and we heard it from someone else like days later. This
Yeah.
exact same story. So I don't know. I'm not gonna.
We should do a
put
separate.
any
We should
blame.
do a separate podcast on did Shatner kill his wife?
Yeah, it'll be our serial.
Is that slander?
Tune in next week. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long that Tekwar Chronicles ran for. It looks like it ran for a very short period of time. Apparently, someone had digitized at some point, but even that's gone now. Like, I couldn't track down like
I bet I can find it.
anything about that. But it's fine. We'll move on. The only like other piece of Tekwar stuff, there's two things. There's another photo in there, and it was a trading card series because it was the 90s and you needed trading cards. But they just appear to be like stills from the original comic that were just turned into trading cards.
Well, they've got all the characters here. You got a redheaded guy with one eye. You got, I'm assuming that's Cardigan. There's another guy with a mustache. Maybe that's his partner down there. He looks cooler than the guy who actually plays him because he's got a rose tattoo on his forehead.
Agree to disagree about that.
Yeah? You think that the guy in the show's cooler?
Sid on the show? Oh, yeah. At any rate, that's basically it with the sole exception of this insane 1995 first-person shooter that they made.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that. I only have a vague knowledge of it.
It is DOS-based. It's a very early first-person shooter. Like, let me put it this way. Doom came out the year before,
Right.
which is hilarious because Doom is like, set the bar, and much like Tekwar itself was so far behind the curve that it had nothing.
Do you think the people that own the rights just thought they had such a gold mine? They just were like, we're making comics and video games and a TV show, and this thing's going to hit? Or was it popular enough that it just simmered just under the surface, and they can keep kind of, let's just squeeze every drop we can out of this thing?
I think if you think back to like 1990, like 1 to 4, all these medium trading cards, comic books, bad sci-fi, it's aimed at nerd children. Like, they're just like, oh, this is what they like. I actually attempted to download and play the Tech Wars game. It was unplayable, though. It was so awful.
Like, unplayable, it was just so bad? Or unplayable, it didn't work?
Like, so bad and so hard. I was very disappointed. I was really looking forward to walking around the world of Tech War and exploring.
Was that the game?
Yeah. I mean, I just assume I went on a mission. You start off on a subway, and then you go up into the streets of Tech War, and like there's a garbage truck driving around and people shooting at you, and you like you don't get to use your wave gun, but that's about it. Like, there's really is no other tech merchandise. I like thought there might be like an action figure. There's nothing. There's no anything other than like these like brief flirtations with like other publishing media.
Yeah, I don't think the show made an impact almost in any way with anyone. Like, it's not even meant to be a joke. It sort of just existed and went away. And this literally is we've probably already given more time to this show than anyone has in the past 20 years.
It's gonna be hours of content on the internet thanks to us.
Yeah,
about
exactly.
Tech War.
We're going to get a call from Shatner. 1, thank you for reviving Tech War. 2, I did not kill my wife. You have been sued.
You'll be hearing from my lawyers.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for this weird merchandising segment I just made up. I hope that was worth it. Probably not, though.
I can cut it down.
All right. So let's get into the episodes. So we watched episodes 3 and 4. Episode 3, Tech Posse.
Yeah, Tech Posse. I have to say right off the bat, this was my favorite episode up to this point. I mean, up to this point, it was only been 3 episodes, but I liked it. I couldn't tell if it was just I'd been desensitized to Tech War to the point where I guess I'm on board now. But I actually do think it was probably, maybe you disagree, I thought it was the best episode of the 3.
I mean, we'll get into it, but 100%. I'm on board with that. I was like, oh, this is better than the pilot. And I like the pilot. But this was like, there's no way it's going to get better than this episode.
Yeah, so I thought the same thing. And what it actually felt like to me, it seemed like a spec script or like a next generation script that didn't quite work entirely. Like, you could see this being an episode of Next Generation where Riker decides to go to another ship and then finds out it's not quite as good as what he had in the Enterprise. Do you know what I mean? Like, it hit all those beats of a kind of early 90s not Star Trek, science fiction kind of show. And I think that's maybe what I liked. There was a little bit of charming aspect to the whole plot.
Oh, interesting. I wouldn't have maybe gone that far, but that's I'll have to. I'll
10 out of
reimagine
10.
it. I'll
It's a
reimagine
10 out of 10.
All right, hold on. Here's the synopsis for the episode. A former attorney general puts together a military SWAT team
Yeah.
to hunt down tech lords named the Tech Posse. They recruit Jake to help out, but he finds some of their methods may not be completely justified.
Yeah. I remember the episode, and I have lots of thoughts about it. Right off the bat, he's not going to switch over and it's something about a whole new bunch of characters that you're going to have to meet and introduce. We're in episode 3. It's not going to happen. So it's hard to think that you feel like the stakes are very high.
You weren't that invested in his time in the Tech Posse.
Yes, I knew he was going to go back. And I think that even the writers, because does any of the Tech Posse, they barely get any lines. Like one or two of them says like,
Yeah, they cut away to them, but I don't think they actually even bother. Other than the leader, they don't introduce. Anyway,
Yeah.
Before we get too far, though, I really need to get into the beginning of this episode because I had to pause it. I lost my mind.
is
so
it the
hard.
beginning? Is the donuts and everything?
They do a stakeout. They're
Yeah.
eating the donuts.
It's great.
They nearly catch this guy. They find out that the tech lord is like some guy who maybe put Cardigan in prison, or maybe he's just like a tech lord he hates. It's not
Janice. It's Janice. I really liked him.
Janice. He's fine. But so I'm gonna move just past that opening scene. They cut to the next scene and they're sitting in front of a TV, and the TV playing in the background was the most insane. Like they saw the future.
I know what you're gonna say.
I lost my mind. The newscast is playing, and they're talking about the president of the United States, a former president of the United States has just died. The 45th president, Hillary Clinton, impeached in her 3rd term, has just
know.
passed away.
I actually had to go.
45th that's this presidency.
I know.
So close. They just missed it.
I know Trump really ruined things. I actually stopped and thought, wait a minute, Trump's not the 45th president, is he? And then I'm like, oh man, he is. So yeah, I thought that I had the same thing. I had to stop the video, and I was so blown away. Tekwar, I have to say, 3 episodes in, they've created a Fitbit. They've almost called the election, 25 years in the future.
So, music subscription service.
Music subscriptions. Like, so far, the technology for anything else on the show, the actual special effects and acting and plots and everything else, the actual whoever's coming up with some concepts of things in the future is pretty spot on. Not on everything. There's no smellometer yet, but
It's coming. But no, I paused it. I turned to my girlfriend, Melanie, and I was just like losing my mind. I'm like, this show is unbelievable. How did they, what is going on?
and then she turned back to you and said, I'm leaving you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Anyway, they're hunting Janice. Janice is a tech lord. For some reason, they may have some involvement with Cardigan in the past. They never get into it again, so it's moot. At which point...
Well, no, I think they either imply or outright say that he was one of the major people that... Janice was one of the major people that framed him or made him look bad, that he went into his ice pod for 10 years or whatever crap.
And it's like basically at this point that he gets recruited by a former Attorney General John Grant to join the Tech Posse.
Right. My main note of him was I said he should have been played by Ronnie Cox. Do you remember Ronnie Cox?
No.
He was in RoboCop. He played Captain Jellicoe. Do you remember Captain Jellicoe on Star Trek? The one who has Riker has a real problem with, and he tells Troy to put on a proper uniform. That was Captain Jellicoe. Anyways, I was like, oh, Ronnie Cox should have played this role.
Perfect. Add that to the Wikipedia.
Yeah, Ronnie. Yeah, just on the Wikipedia. Also, Ronnie Cox. Many feel Ronnie Cox should have played the role.
They're sitting at a table. This whole dead President Clinton thing's playing in the background.
Yeah.
At which point, John Grant comes to recruit Cardigan to join his Tech Posse. But did you notice how rude he was to Sid?
I felt the same way. I actually made a note about that. I said, isn't anyone else feel awkward about how bad this is? He's offered him a job right in front of him. He's not very nice. And in my opinion, Sid's a much better cop / security guard / tech fighter than
As
Cardigan.
we see in this episode,
he's much better.
Sid is very competent, very capable, far more.
Now, he's a little bit overweight.
Well, he just keeps eating those donuts.
I know.
He talks to him.
I know. You know that was one of the writers was like, well, the actor's a little bit chubby. Maybe we'll have him love donuts. It's as if the writer just thought, well, he's chubby, so let's have him eating, and that'll be funny for the audience.
It's true. Sid's got 2 character traits now. He loves technology. He loves himself a donut.
Yeah, that's it. And Cardigan, oversized leather jackets, and maybe loves his wife / girlfriend / whoever that woman is, who sometimes disappears for entire episodes at a time.
Yeah, so it's really weird. They recruit Cardigan. He just like joins almost immediately and like abandons it.
Oh, and I should mention, talking about things that are really ahead of the time, it's basically the Patriot Act, right? Is what it's.
Oh, it's very much like they talk about how many civil liberties they're disbanding so this tech posse can like it's very right wing and weird.
Yeah.
I mean, a little heavy handed, but definitely like.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's seeing like what it takes. I like what did I watched that Denis Villeneuve movie yesterday, and it's about Emily Blunt being recruited by CIA Josh Brolin.
Oh, Sicario.
Sicario, thank you.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that movie is this episode. It's
Yeah, I get it. It's same basic beats. Yeah,
It's all about
that was much better.
same exact same rating. I'm giving them the same rating, but it's like this is just Sicario in Tekwar.
Yeah. It is. You are right. It has the same. It's the same basic idea of.
Get recruited by a shadowy government agency.
Yeah, and they do whatever it takes to get things done, but then you feel weird about it.
Yeah, that's this episode. So yeah, he joins. He quits his time with Shatner. Shatner lets him go, and he kind of joins this rogue entity group, and they go off to like find Janice by like first catching all his like henchmen.
And Cardigan takes jobs like his wife takes jobs, which is with no questions asked. So both of them now have taken jobs where they just gets offered to them. They go, I guess so. They both do the same. Like he didn't learn any lesson from her taking a job from Jimmy Dollars or whatever that guy's name in the first episode.
Yeah, it's true. They just
It's the same thing.
They briefly do a big build up, like Shatner's gonna be mad at you for leaving, and then Shatner like shows he's like, "Have fun, good luck."
Is that? Oh no, it's later on when they're having their. She's, as you said, his moral compass, and she's in bed in like a negligee, and he's just topless in bed. And I've something about that image was very weird to me.
Did you notice the first henchman they caught? Maybe this is just me.
I did. My note was Canadian celebrity sighting, Patrick McKenna.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm a big Patrick McKenna fan.
Are you? I don't really have any feeling either way, but it's such a lame Canadian thing, and I can say that being a Canadian, is hey, we have about 7 or 8 actors that you all know, right? We're going to stick them in every series that you ever see, whether it's an American show or Canadian show, whatever it is, one of these people are going to show up. And maybe this was different at this time because how many Canadian celebrities were there? Him and Paul Gross. But it just was, oh, come on. I actually thought he was okay in the part.
I actually think that this probably is like quote unquote celebrity Patrick McKenna.
Fair enough. He's right there in the red green.
This is pre-red green.
Is it pre-red green?
I think so. This is pre-Traders.
Right.
So like his big Canadian performances, I think, are yet to come.
Right.
At the very least, it was still great. He was the best. He was one of the best parts of this episode. All right. They catch him. That's when his first moral quandary comes in because they bring him back to their headquarters to get information about where Janice is.
Oh, let me mention, they do this whole like sequence where they catch the guys, and what I noticed was this is this amazing team. They don't really do much other than they trip someone and they just catch guys at an elevator. And we're like, we're arresting you now. And I thought, well, Bascom's team can't do any of this.
To be fair, 2 of the agents who I don't think we ever see again get in a fight as undercover like husband and wife. And the man is yelling at his wife about things she's purchased. And
I don't remember.
He yells at her, he's like, for the price of that microwave hairdryer you bought, I could have got a solar-powered tie rack or an ultrasonic foot massager. He just starts railing off lists of future products.
Right. Which I love, by the way. That's that classic science fiction thing of just sticking a name in front of something so that it sounds fancy. So it's like...
Yeah, it's like Jetson-style products.
Yeah. Is that a pair of shoes? Oh, no, those are moon shoes. Oh, yeah, that's from the future. Moon shoes.
All right.
So they'd say this is the point where they start torturing the person with lie detector.
Yes, they got Patrick McKenna with this fancy new lie detector, which is unbeatable. It's an unbeatable lie detector, which is just a shock collar they put around their neck.
Yeah. Well, but it's more than that. It's connected to, I guess, their brain at some point because it can detect lies. So, but yes, it's a shock collar that apparently is very, very, you can kill someone with this.
So after they've finished torturing him, they kind of get an idea of where they're closing in on Janice now.
Yeah.
And for the first time, we kind of cut back to like Cosmo because Cardigan has to go back and tell them to stop trying to find Janice. Like the secret military police don't want them interfering. And so for the first time, we cut back to seeing what like Sid and everyone's been up to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed this. Everyone is still in the same clothes. It's like been at least 2 days.
I didn't notice that. Everywhere has no background. So apparently the organization just like when they lose Cardigan, there's only 2 people left in that building. It's the same 2 people apparently wearing the same clothing.
Yeah, I mean that's all you need for Cosmo. You need Shatner. You need their weird secretary.
Yeah, I feel bad almost saying that. She really bothers me. I don't like the character at all. I don't know, like, she's got moxie. Is that her thing? It's just such a non-character. She kind of says things with a sarcastic lilt, but it doesn't make sense why she's being like that.
I would say, if anything, you're reacting to that she really is in some ways ahead of her time, in that she's like a bad writer's idea of a hipster. She's all like affectation.
Is that what she's supposed to be, do you think?
Well, she's constantly like, even I think in this episode she's like wearing an Asian influenced like bellhop's uniform.
Every time she shows up, I'm annoyed. I'm like, oh, here we go.
She's a character they're like, oh, in the future she's young, so she's really like affecting like the 1930s. So she wears a hairstyle that way and she kind of dresses that way, as if that's enough of a character trait.
I'm assuming there's no women writers on this writing staff.
Oh no. Second episode
Really?
was written by a woman.
Well, shows me.
Anyway, he goes back to tell them to lay off. No one's going to take it. Sid's like not having it. Shatner's not having it. He goes to his wife and complains, and she's just like, she like literally is complaining about the rule of law. Like, she's like, what you're doing is illegal. But I mean, yeah, this is the point where like people are kind of pushing back on Cardigan, and he's like, no, I'm still doing the right thing. So they follow up on Patrick McKenna's tip as to where Janice is going to be, and they try to ambush him in some sort of shipping container yard.
Yeah, I love this part of the episode. Spoiler alert: they get in a gunfight. It was a trap, and they get in a gunfight, and then a kid playing basketball
By himself.
accidentally gets shot and
in
killed.
a shipping container
And
yard.
that's what's funny. It's like how weird this kid is, who went to play basketball by himself in a shipping container and also he must have seen these guys with guns around at one point, because they had to climb up to get ready and stuff. So I think he'd maybe deserve to die, is what I'm saying.
Whoa, strong opinion on
Strong
that
opinion.
kid. Strong
Yeah.
opinion on that kid.
He also deserves to get shot because he decides to run after his ball when they're clearly firing guns. He didn't go, maybe I'll wait a couple minutes and see how this works out. No, he runs out into the line of fire.
That's fair. He had no survival instincts at
Yeah.
all.
And also, basketball in the future, just basketball.
Yeah, it's just basketball.
It's the same. You can't improve on it.
So they kill this kid. It's all been an ambush, and as they're gathering around to like lick their wounds, a garbage can explodes.
Yeah.
Revealing a hologram of Janice.
Yeah, I wrote that down and I wrote the note, amazing.
Janice is dressed as a wizard.
Yeah, I know. I really, honestly, at this point, I was like, I'm all in. I thought that was great.
Janice as a wizard was a big turning point. I was like, this episode's going well. Things
Yeah.
are really working out for
Yeah, I
me.
felt the same.
So Janice basically, I don't know, goads them. He's just like, you're never going to catch me. I'm an untouchable hologram wizard man.
Yeah.
At which point we cut to commercial. And when we come back, Cardigan and the former attorney general who runs Tech Posse are walking out of the boy's funeral with the kid's parents.
Yes.
Telling them how, not even that they're sorry, they're like telling them it's not their fault.
Yeah, it was weird. I on the note I made was maybe the parents should feel bad about the kid playing basketball by himself. But yes, that was very weird. Also, I don't think they said anything, right? They just kept.
Oh yeah, the extras hired or upgraded to be the parents were not given a line of dialogue. They just walk silently.
Yeah.
As they were monologued to.
So we go to some more torture. Yeah. So I don't remember how they got to this, but they start torturing the cleaning lady, which is like this poor lady.
It was a weird jump. Like, they don't really. It feels like a scene was cut, but like it felt like she was a janitor at a hotel who told her boyfriend that she saw Janice. I don't know. It wasn't clear. It wasn't. It was just like some woman who.
I just felt bad for the lady.
Well, I mean, that was the idea. You're supposed to think like this woman doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
Watch them torture her.
And they did. Put her right in a tech coma.
Thank God, Cardigan's girlfriend / wife is a neurologist.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Oh, also, by the way, wasn't she a chemist or something last time? Now she's a top neurologist. There's no way she has this many degrees.
Well, I mean, tech affects the brain, so maybe it's all combined.
Yeah. Okay. I don't buy it. I think Cardigan's just trying to always get his. He's always like that person at work who's trying to get work for someone else. He's like, come on, my girlfriend can do it.
Well, Cardigan feels bad. He feels bad she was put in coma, so he wants her to get the best care, which allows us, the audience, to catch up with his girlfriend, who can basically just be a bleeding heart liberal
Okay. Yeah.
about these terrible tech posse and their right-wing tactics,
Yeah.
causing Cardigan to have a...
She's a real snowflake, that one.
Cardigan still doesn't quite change. At the end of it, he says, I'm going to quit after I catch Janice. So even though he now doubts them, he's still not leaving Tech Posse. He's going to stick it out. Otherwise, killing that kid would be for nothing.
Yeah,
It was
I
already for
agree with
nothing.
Cardigan. Let me mention one thing. Do you remember the mention of cyber bonds?
Yeah, that's the next scene.
Oh yeah, so I don't. You can take it from there, but all I remember is the cyber bonds. I was like, that's where I'm putting my money. That sounds real safe.
Well, basically, the next thing we catch back up with Sid and the secretary / hacker. I think she does more than the secretary, but it's hard to tell.
Yo, she hacks too, although not very well because they always have to go to that other girl who eats chocolate bars to do some if they need it untracked hacking.
They catch back up, like this Cardigan free. They catch back up with Cosmos. She and Sid have done all the footwork. They've figured everything out. Everything that Tech Posse has not been able to sort out, these two are putting together by themselves.
They've done actual detective work.
And they're looking into where Janice's money might be hidden. And you're right. They start listing off future ways to hide money, which are matrix transfers, cyber bonds, and plutonium futures. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a stretch, but I'm going to give Bitcoin to Tekwar.
No, I thought the same thing. I thought this is pretty good. They're
hiding money in the black market and the dark web.
Yeah. Tekwar does it once again.
But of course, Sid solves the mystery because apparently Janice is hiding his money through old-fashioned money laundering of just buying things and then selling them again, which apparently the government's so high-tech they forgot that's an option.
Yeah, that was a little bit. I mean, I kind of was like, whatever, sure. But yes, it did seem a little bit. They just need to wrap it up real quick for them to be able to catch something. Like, I don't know, he buys a yacht, so.
Did you catch what his yacht was? It was a 7-year-old yacht worth 7 times the gross natural product of most Asian nations.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I think that might be a little racist, Tech.
So, I guess that's a lot.
Like that, like they're assuming in 2045 most Asian nations can't afford a 70-year-old yacht.
Yeah.
I don't think yachts get more expensive over time.
Well, the hurricanes have effectively destroyed the Philippines at this point, right? They're entirely gone.
That may be the Tech War. Maybe during the Brazil Wars. I don't know.
Yeah,
Something
right. The
happened.
Brazil Wars.
Something happened. I also made a note here. Sid and Nika, the secretary / hacker, are very good partners.
Yeah. No, I thought the same thing. They're not missing a beat with losing Cardigan, and they could clearly go on without him, even though it's just them and Bascom, whatever his name is, who just only walks around stairs. Have we mentioned that? He only walks up and down stairs. I think that might have been in Shatner's contract that all of his scenes take place by a stair or just walking up or down a stair, because you never see him anywhere else. Like, or they shot all of his scenes in one day by those stairs.
It's his dressing room just on top of the stairs.
It's very weird.
They say your scenes now, and he just steps out and walks.
He never wants to go out for lunch. They're like, Bascom, like, come on, let's go for lunch. He's like, no, I'll stay here. They're like, you're gonna eat by the stairs? And he's like, yeah, you guys go. Every time. He never leaves. He may actually be a hologram. Maybe they'll find that out.
Ooh, twist.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is basically the best part of the episode, because thanks to torturing that woman, I don't know how. Do you remember how they figured out to go where Janice is?
No, I'm assuming she says something. But anyways, they both get to the same spot.
Oh, I know now. Right. Here's my note about it. Basically, there's that scene where Sid and Nika figure out that he has this boat and Janice is on this boat, and Sid's like, I'm going to go there and take him down. When we cut to the next scene, they're going to the boat, and in an offhanded remark, the guy who runs Tech Posse says, hey, we got a tip. He's on a boat.
Oh, really? I don't even remember.
They don't even do work. I'm just looking at my notes here. They tortured that woman for no reason, and also they just like got a rando tip to where he was. Like Sid at least had a arc of how he figured it out. Tech Posse just stumbles into scenarios.
Because Tech Posse, they just get tips all the time.
They're
Patriot Act. They don't need that. They don't need
they got that Tech
work.
Posse. But basically, we get into them infiltrating the boat separately. Sid on one side,
Yeah.
Tech Posse on the other. They don't know that each other are there. It's the best scene in the entire show.
I agree. It was very good. Return of the morphing face mask.
Yes, Sid
but,
morphs.
But why does he do it? Why doesn't even bother?
Well,
Because the only person who knows him is Cardigan, so why does he even put it on?
Well, he just morphs into another person's face and then pretends to be a worker working on the boat. Like,
I
no one's
know.
going to recognize you
Exactly.
or this fake
And
worker.
Let me ask you something weird. I've noticed both times the morphing mask has been used, they've both been used by Sid, and both times he's turned into another black guy. Can you only turn into people of your own race? Is it because the hands would be a giveaway?
It's because the hands.
Well, I'm sure they could put morphing gloves on too.
Well, he's only got so much room. He's bringing the mask. Don't get too complicated, he says. Let's keep it simple.
Let's keep it simple. That's classic Sid.
So it's like, keep it simple. Just you bring the morph mask with it.
Yeah, okay.
Did you notice, though, I really was very happy for the guy that Sid morphs into, because that actor got, like, at least 5 minutes of screen time after that. Like, they're following him around. This other actor we've never seen before is just, like, getting whole scenes by himself where he's wandering around the ship.
I'm all for the morphing mask. I'm anytime it shows up, I'm happy.
That background guy just got, like, so much money that day. He,
Yeah, good for
he
him.
got full scenes to himself.
He guarantee got an upgrade.
100%. Also, did you notice the cloaking ships?
I did, and the note I made was they might be more effective if you couldn't see the Drago water behind them.
Tech Posse gets into basically rafts, motorized rafts, where they say, turn on the cloaking technology?
Well, here's the thing about the cloaking technology. If you can cloak a boat in water, you must be able to cloak yourself, and they would just be able to cloak themselves and go in. I know why you can't do that, because you can't just have no actors being in a scene, you're just hearing their voices. But in terms of the technology, it should be just as effective, right? Covering a person is covering a boat.
I mean, the boat's not covered, so it is effectively shielding them as people.
Oh yeah, because it does shield them too. So that's weird.
I mean, effectively, it is just like, I don't know what it is, but yeah, they take these rafts about 10 feet.
I know they didn't have to go very far.
They cloak, drive 10 feet, get on the boat. At which point, Tech Posse turns it into a shootout with Janice's men.
And by far the most people are killed in this episode.
Oh, they're killing people left and right.
Yeah.
Though it is great when somehow Sid doesn't get shot as Cardigan comes around and sees him in a morph mask.
Well, because they have to have that reveal. Like, oh, we're both here, teammates again.
Which is great. I was really happy. I was just like, yes, the team's back together. I love it. And then blah, 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 blah. They end up in a fight on the roof with Janice.
Yeah.
Where Janice gets knocked off into another raft with Sid and a bomb.
Yeah.
Because they've rigged the ship to blow. As Janice and Sid drive off, the Attorney General is like, let's blow up that ship and just kill Janice.
Yeah, I know. That I was like, really? I mean, up to this point, they hadn't shown him to be that bloodthirsty that he would just kill not a cop or whatever they
couldn't let him get away. It was worth it.
Yeah, it
the
was worth it.
sacrifice was worth it.
Yeah.
Not to Cardigan.
The ends justify the means for him.
Yeah. And him and Cardigan get in a fist fight while we're cross-cutting with Sid fist fighting Janice.
Yeah, and let me mention one point. Cardigan, did you notice when Cardigan kicks him? I laughed so hard. There's this weird kick out of the blue, and I'm like, what, he knows how to kick people too? And it was just so silly. It was such a silly like fighting move. It just was like, do you need to have the kick in there? Because they had to show like he's got something special. But yeah, 2 fights at one time, pretty good.
The Attorney General wasn't that in shape either. It wasn't a tough fight for Cardigan.
No.
Cardigan shoots the trigger to the explosive.
Also, that was a real gamble, because how did he know not shooting the button when just set it off? Because that's embarrassing, right?
He just blows up his partner anyway.
To go see who I'm assuming is Sid's significant other or whoever, his loved ones. So, funny story, guys.
His
Yeah,
donuts.
the donuts. Funny story, guys. I thought shooting the button would stop the bomb, but unfortunately it killed him. So I
It
effectively
set it
killed him.
off, really.
Yeah, it set it off. So sorry about that.
We got Janice.
But as a way to say sorry, I brought donuts.
Sid cycles back, having caught Janice single-handedly, and in a weird twist, I didn't entirely understand this. I guess because Cardigan broke rank, he's now in trouble with the government. But Sid shows up and he's like, I'll trade you Janice for Cardigan.
Yeah, they sort of implied that he got on the bad side of old fake Ronnie Cox. That that he was like I guess because of the Patriot Act thing, whatever they kept calling it a name like C-31 or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, they had like it was like Executive Order C.
Yeah, because of that, he basically could. I think they implied he could arrest Cardigan if he wanted, without any real reason, just because like he's pissed off. He can just. So that was what that was, and then Sid saved the day again. He saved the day like 3 times in this episode. Also, he likes donuts.
And then so Sid trades him for Janice. They get the collar and Janice, and Sid gets his partner back, and everything's back to the status quo. But the scene played out just like every scene with his girlfriend wife. Is they acknowledged a problem, they both acknowledged culpability in how the problem was handled, and then immediately forgave each other.
They have a healthy relationship.
They have a very healthy relationship.
And I guess we get to the point now. He comes back, and Bascom takes him back, and they have this sort of they imply, and it's not the first time they've done it, where they imply that he's some sort of like psychological master, that he's always playing a chess game with people. He knows what everyone's gonna do.
They do imply, not even imply, they like state that Boscom has the ear of the president.
Yes, that's what I mean. They keep saying like he knows things and he's a very powerful person. But again, all I've really seen him do is walk up and down the stairs. And that one time, that one episode, he pulled out a force field on that woman before she shot him. So I don't know. I'm not as impressed as all those as all the characters are. But maybe I'll be made to eat my words.
I mean, that about wraps it up for episode 3, Tech Posse.
Yeah. The episode where Cardigan's gonna have very complicated taxes due this year.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
He briefly took another job.
Yeah, and it's like, how's he like? Did he take a paycheck for that? And did
how many credits do you think he got paid for that? Like 15?
Well, it's you know what
they get paid 25 at.
This is a little spoiler for the next episode, but I wrote it down. In the next episode, they mention that an electronic prostitute is 5 credits a minute. And then in the second episode, the army woman was offered 25 credits a day to work. But then in the first episode, Beth bought her dress for 1,200 credits. This currency is all over the place. All over.
5 credits a minute.
I know. And she was making 25 a day. That prostitute's a lot of money. Inflation in the future, prostitutes are through the roof.
I mean, maybe it's because they're a robot. Maybe that's like highly sought after.
Yeah. I guess.
Maybe a human prostitute is considerably cheaper.
Yeah. I guess there's advantages with anything. There's a little bit of pros, a little bit of cons.
Well, you probably don't need a lot more than a minute.
Well, yeah, it's true. Those they're very effective robots. They're not going to be bad at it.
They're not going to mess around. There's no foreplay.
They're not going to mess around. Lighting candles.
Well, this got awful.
So, episode 104, the 4th episode.
Promises to Keep is the title of this episode.
Haven't seen one of these in a long time.
No, you've never seen one like this. Ever.
It's a programmable keyboard, isn't it?
Actually, no, I'm playing it.
That's the wetware I was telling you about. It's incredible.
I appreciate the concert. Let's get down to business.
Business it is, Jake Cardigan. Do you have the prototype headset?
I was afraid to bring it till I was sure we could find you, but it's in a safe place.
But it works.
Yes. I can't sustain the effect, but it definitely inhibits the neural link to tech.
And for years, I've been trying to figure out how a woman as beautiful as you can be as brilliant as you are.
Let's stay on track.
All right, synopsis for the episode. Tom Weston, a former boyfriend of Beth Kittredge, calls her and enlists her help. He was presumed dead, but has been hiding because he's close to finding a way to eliminating tech. The tech lords are trying to kill him.
Yeah, I didn't like this episode as much as I liked the last episode. I mean, I didn't actually think either one were particularly bad, but I didn't like this one as much as the last one.
We'll get into this later, but I did not like this.
Yo, you didn't like it at all? I thought it was okay.
We'll get into this in the ratings, but like I feel like the same thing happened last episode for me. Like real high point, real low point.
Yeah. Right off the bat, so we start with their characters getting chased, and what I liked was the guy drops something on the ground, and the first thing they do is pick it up. Like, if I'm chasing someone and they drop a Fabergé egg or something, I'm not going to pick that thing up. I know it's bad.
It is true. That guy just immediately picks up a bomb. He's like, what do you think this is?
Yeah.
But that's how Tom Weston, our guest hero, gets away.
Oh, and he goes immediately to his lair. And did you notice that this is the first time we've really seen an AI in terms of
sassy computer?
Yeah, having a personality. That was the first. I was like, oh, that's something.
When he questioned it, this robot sassed back, "Don't question me."
Yeah,
which is not what you want your computer to say to you.
Yeah. Hey, can you open the program? Don't question me. Oh, geez. Okay, sorry.
Cool. From here, Tom reaches out to Jake's girlfriend / wife, Beth Kittredge.
And may I mention that this is the first time also, so episode 4 is the first time we see the cityscape of where they're taking place, which is clearly the Toronto cityscape, but horribly, horribly painted over. Like they've done, it looked like someone just took gold foil and stuck it over a building.
It is like they use computer graphics to kind of alter it, but really bad ones. And you know what's weird though? There was city skylines in the last episode. When
Was
they're
there?
at the boat, you see Toronto's city skyline very clearly. And when you in this episode they cut to it, and I'm just like, whew, not the same city that was in the last episode.
Well, this had like at one point, wasn't there like a floating globe above one city or building?
There's just a globe floating. Like the whole thing is like just a mess. It's a mess. That establishing shot was a nightmare.
It's also not needed at all because they haven't used them before. So why even establish it?
We have no idea what the city looks like. In fact, it was better not knowing.
Yeah. And my note about the beginning of the episode, I put old love interest coming back from the dead. I bet Cardigan will be really open-minded about it. So they really this episode I think never made a right turn where you thought it was going. You know, everything went exactly like you thought it was going to go. That's how I felt about this episode. There was no surprises.
I mean, we'll get into it, but this episode, if last episode was, what's the name of that movie again?
Oh, Sicario.
If the last episode was Sicario, this episode is Casablanca.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, we'll get into it by the end, but it is basically Casablanca.
Okay. I thought you meant in terms of quality. I was like, wow.
Also, yeah, I feel like Casablanca is like 2 stars, just like this episode.
Right.
So yeah, he reaches out. He's come up with a technology that like allows you, the human being, to manipulate technology with your brain. So your thoughts can now manipulate technology. That's like the thing he's inventing.
I actually felt, and maybe this is just me, I felt they were a little bit wishy-washy with what the technology was, and it seemed to also change a little bit from the beginning to the end of the episode. Was that just me? Did you feel the same way?
I was never clear. Like the core of it was that whatever it did allowed you to have enough mind control that tech wouldn't affect you anymore.
When they show the technology later, they just showed images in a guy's head. You remember they have the thing and they have the guy, and it's like apparently his thing is like being with a prostitute, and they're like, "Ooh, this is a great technology." I'm like, "But isn't that just tech? Then you've just put images in his head. They didn't."
No. Yeah. Later in the episode, when they're trying to help Tom get off the street, Cardigan makes a connection with a government guy he knows who's gonna they're gonna show him the new stuff he invented to help cure tech, and the government will protect him from the tech lords who want to kill him. That man just puts on tech, like he's just using tech. Like the prostitute, the whole like thing in his head where the agent shows up and wants to sleep with. It's so weird. All of them are just like, all the fantasies for men are just some underling. They want to grossly, like everyone is Harvey Weinstein. It's awful. But like, yeah, he puts that on. He's in Tech Town. Like he's getting what he wants. And whatever the technology they use to like, he just takes it off. He's like, oh, I just don't feel like wearing it anymore.
Oh.
Your technology works. But like, it's just like, what technology?
Yeah, see, that's why I didn't understand it.
They never quite explained what technology is or how it worked. The idea was like, where a normal person would just keep having a fantasy of molesting an underling, he was able to take it off because it was not giving him what he wanted anymore.
Right. Well, it's, I guess the implication, it's cutting off the firing of the syntaxes, so it's not hitting your pleasure centers or whatever. Yeah, right. But they don't ever make that explicit.
The tech chemical doesn't get released. Whatever
right.
that was called.
The one that what's your face was making in the other episode.
Yeah. So we're getting pretty far in this episode. I don't want to, and I'm fine. We'll keep going. I don't really care about this too much.
But let me mention one thing before, as I keep cutting you off. Cardigan on the elliptical was one of the funniest things. I laughed and laughed and laughed because they just had, again, poor Sid. They have to have him get in shape because he's a little bit overweight, and this poor guy's just getting hit when he's down. But he actually didn't look as nearly as funny as the Cardigan on the elliptical. That made me laugh.
Well, I was gonna say, like, there's a big sort of Sid Cardigan partnership in this episode. They're like trying to like protect Tom. They're constantly, the entire episode is constantly railing on Sid for like wanting to eat sweets.
Yeah.
The entire episode. But it also relies on the fact that Sid has a new toy, the Hounder.
I don't know how it possibly works.
Hounder apparently created some sort of liquid, tasteless liquid that someone who drank that liquid that would then be trackable. The liquid would be trackable.
Not only trackable, you can hear.
The liquid is also a microphone from inside the body.
Which was weird because it's also like, when he was angry because the guy was just going out and like doing shopping and stuff, he's like, go do some crimes. And why do I have to listen to this?
The bad guy in this is LaFar, which is some woman who is not a tech lord, but is like a tech distributor.
Yeah.
But
Which really is a tech lord.
Which is just a tech lord, it's true. But like her
It's
thing...
like, I'm not a drug dealer. I'm a drug distributor.
Her thing is she's like classic wealthy old white lady who gets a lot of plastic surgery.
And you know what about it? The funny thing up to this point, so far we've seen at least 3 major villains. I found all of them more interesting than the heroes in this, and I wish the show was following these people. Because she's much more interesting with her weird, like, I like the little pins in her face and to keep her young. I thought she was really interesting.
Yeah, she has a plastic surgeon on call who has a robot hand full of needles that just, like, jab her face.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. I like that.
All the time. She employs hitmen. Oh, this was so bad. Like, for all the things that Tekwar gets weirdly right sometimes, her hitman is a man in a dress in a bad French accent.
That was that.
It was very like.
Actually, I'm not that offended that easily, but I thought, oh guys, this is bad. Like, this must have been offensive at the time.
Yeah,
and it's even worse now. It was a painful scene.
He's mincing around, and then
he was definitely mincing.
And Sid and Cardigan show up, and then Sid and Cardigan make all kinds of gay panic jokes. They're
very uncomfortable because they're worried they might have sex with him, I guess.
Well, yeah, Cardigan's like, he'll take you out for a steak, and then Sid's like, what? No, I won't. I don't do that. I'm just like, oh my god, this scene is embarrassing. Everybody, like, you should all feel bad for having been involved.
Yeah.
But I mean, Shatner killed his wife, so whatever.
Somewhat unrelated. Did you notice that every time they kept showing in this episode the little video phone that they all have, but every single time they showed it, it was just a still image of the hand so that they could clearly add in the green screen, the little thing. But I just like that it was just a still hand, which you wouldn't have noticed, but they stay on the shot for so long.
They really hold on the hand for a long time, so you start realizing this is a bad composition. Anyway, Beth is trying to help Tom, so she's like looking into this information she got from Tom via the phone that time while he's on the run.
Tom's basic plan seems kind of dumb. So he has technology that he doesn't want people to catch. So his plan is, I'm going to look at my old girlfriend from presumably over 10 years, and I'm going to put it on her computer because I just know, even not being in contact with her, that her computer has enough power or whatever is the most advanced to be able to hold his files. Doesn't that seem like a really lame way to try to look up an old girlfriend?
Oh, you're postulating he could have done this anywhere. This is just a reason to reconnect.
Yes.
Yes, interesting.
Yeah, because like, come on.
That changes a lot.
Don't you think? I thought, oh, this is all just to get her back. And it's just convenient.
After 10 years of pretending to be dead, he's like, I should really like...
Yeah, the AI is not getting what he wants.
Look if I can hook up with my old girlfriend.
He probably looked her up on Tech Book online, and it was like,
nice.
He looked at her and he thought, thank you. He looked her up and thought, oh, she still looks pretty good. The little teased hair is a little much, but he thought, well, I'll just put it on her computer. She's still, we might work out. Anyway, I think he was a little bit creepy with it, is what I'm saying.
Well, he is a bit of a creep. But by putting it on a computer, LaFar somehow figures out it's there. She sends a hitman. That's when they have to, like, stop. Sid and Cardigan show up and stop the hitman from, like, killing his girlfriend. I think we actually do figure out she's his girlfriend this episode.
Yeah, he mentions, he goes, he's been living with her for a year. I was rooting for Thomas until he started quoting poetry, which is a thing, it's just a trope I hate. Characters in TV and film that, for whatever reason, memorize literature and poetry like no one does in real life. Just so you can have a scene where they quote it to someone so the other person is very impressed. But again, in real life, if someone started quoting me poetry, I would think, what is wrong with this person? This is very weird. This is not a normal way to converse. And also one of the things he says is, I'll always look over you and I'll always bring you ice cream. That was one of the things.
Oh, well, that's a callback.
What was it a callback to?
Earlier in the episode, when they're talking about how Jake is like, they've been living together for a year, what I think Jake mentions, this is the line I wrote down, is that Beth gave great ice cream kisses.
Yes, I wrote that too. I miss your ice cream kisses. And I wrote, I assume this is a frozen treat of the future. So is she always eating ice cream?
Or is
that an innuendo? Is it a gross innuendo?
I don't know. It was weird.
Give me one of your ice cream kisses, please.
No. Oh.
Yeah, it's gross, right?
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No one makes it as cold and creamy as you do.
This episode, like, really nothing happens.
I noticed this episode, this one had a lot of really weird one-liners and odd things. So I looked up the writer because I thought there's got to be like a writer who's hasn't written another episode, and it was. And so the writer's name is James Caan, not the James Caan you're thinking of. Spelled Caan like Star Trek 2. He's written some things, like he wrote a bunch of episodes of Melrose Place and Star Trek Voyager and some things, but he also has some very, very weird credits, which is he wrote a whole bunch of novelizations of movies, but they're uncredited. So he wrote the Poltergeist novel, uncredited. Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, uncredited. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom novel, uncredited. Poltergeist 2 novel, uncredited. And there's a whole bunch, like, that's weird. So if they're uncredited, why are they even listed here? So did he just put them up on his...
He would have had to.
That's a weird gig to get. You just keep writing novelizations. So I think what it really is he's a ghostwriter for people, and he's written some TV.
Do you think he's Shatner's ghostwriter?
I think he might be. I can't remember. There's actually... anyways, he's had some really weird credits, but this guy kept writing quips for whatever reason in this episode, and it's like it's nonstop.
You don't know it's him. It could have been punch-ups in the writer's room.
Yeah. Well, here's another one. Sid goes, "I couldn't find my butt up there." That was one of the lines too. There was just a lot of weird dialogue.
It was a weird episode. I mean, I'm trying to skim through it. Like essentially, they're just trying to protect Tom and effectively also protect Beth, because now that she knows the secret to stop they're both targets of all the tech lords. The entire thing is like keeping them alive and like trying to like get them to safety and like get this new tech somewhere. They like go back to those hackers from the earlier, like the not
Mika or something.
Mika or whatever. They go to the other hackers. They don't go back to her. They go to those other hackers.
They go to the Minority Report ones.
Which I was informed this time by Melanie. That hacker, that is Lexa Doig.
Who's that?
She won't stop telling me about Lexa Doig, because apparently Lexa Doig is in this. She's in like every Canadian science fiction show from like, this is kind of like her first foray, but
Right.
I think we're going to be seeing a lot
In the
more
future, right,
of Alexa Doig going forward.
It's funny because I can't actually picture what she looks like at all.
Well, just have to go watch another episode of Tekwar. She'll be back.
So Mel's a big fan, huh?
She knows she keeps saying Lexa Doig, and I'm like, I don't know who that is. That's the only reason I'm paying attention to the hacker scenes anymore. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, did you notice that Beth just keeps getting thrown into problems simply because she's there? She seems like her character's only there to create a plot for the other main characters. Like, this is the second time where she's essentially a catalyst but doesn't really have anything to do. You know, the first episode she gets a job so that Cardigan can go prove that he's actually evil. This time her ex-boyfriend comes back so that Cardigan can save the day, you know?
I mean, arguably, that's all the characters. Like, no one has its character traits, and like, they're all just there to get Cardigan somewhere. But yeah, like, you're not wrong. She gets in trouble. Cardigan has to like get her out of it.
Yeah, I have a feeling this is probably gonna be a trend that goes through although as we learn, probably not with Beth.
I know, this really throws your whole view of the show into jeopardy.
Yeah, I did.
So let's not mess around. And they try to save her, whatever. They get to the end and they realize they can't save Tom. Like Tom, they can't like hide Tom. Tom's got to go back into like his weird underground hiding.
Yeah, which he gets. I like that he's been hiding for, let's say, 10 years, and he gets fooled by a guy wearing a wig. Do you remember that part where he's like, Beth? And it's just a guy wearing a wig. I was like, oh, come on, your security is terrible.
That was that poor man in a dress again.
Was it him?
Yeah.
Oh, that was bad. And there's also that part where Sid is with the hitman, and he it looks like he's roofing him. Remember, because he puts the drop in his drink, and I thought, oh god, where is this going? But he just wants to listen to the guy.
Oh yeah. I mean, why the villain in this episode needed cross-dressers as assassins is beyond me. Like, that was never explained.
Also, a lot of Irish stereotypes in the future, because he keeps calling Cardigan Irish, as if like he's wearing a green coat and he's always talking about his Lucky Charms or something. Like, I was like, oh, because Cardigan's last name, like the actor doesn't even look Irish.
I mean, that's the whole thing between Tom and Jake, because they share the same girlfriend, is like some sort of bad pissing match.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a rivalry, but it seems to come out of nowhere. And I know what they were going for, but I don't think it really worked very well.
It's not great, but it kind of leads up to the ending where they realize there's no way to keep Tom safe, so he needs to go back underground. And here's the big twist of the episode. Beth has to leave with him. And this is where it's a little bit Casablanca.
Right.
Because they still love each other, but the only way to keep her safe is for her to leave with the other man. They get in the car to go away, at which point Sid says, wait, that's not a model car we own.
Yeah, I know. They waited to that moment.
And then the
Sid's-
car
Sid-
explodes.
To be fair, Sid's a pretty good detective, but sometimes he has some lapses.
Really missed that. The
Yeah.
car explodes, killing Tom and Beth.
Oh, and then he also mentions, Sid says, "My name is Chocolate Donut." Did you catch that line?
No.
He said his name is Chocolate Donut. It was very weird. I know, the whole episode makes you feel very uncomfortable about a lot of things.
Cut away. Beth's not dead.
Yeah.
But her and Tom still do go on the run together.
I was surprised with that.
So up until now, particularly you, Jordan, we've been pushing the assumption that like everything will reset every episode.
Yeah.
And it basically has. But now for some reason they have removed
A major character.
the character we've come to love.
Well, she hasn't, to be fair, she hasn't been utilized at all to this point, and I know she's going to come back, but I was surprised that they got rid of her in episode 4.
Do you think she's gonna come back? I'm hoping.
No, she's 100% she's coming back.
Is she coming? She's just coming back in the next episode, isn't she?
Yeah, I don't know if she's coming back in episode 5, but I think she'll be back in at least a few, is my guess.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, I disliked this episode a lot because it was super boring. But I was pleasantly surprised to find out they were going to remove Beth from the series,
Yeah. So,
at least temporarily.
so is it time to talk about what we're ranking these episodes?
Yeah, let's just get into ranks. I have nothing left to say about this. I mean, I've had a whole bunch more notes, but it was a boring episode.
Okay, so we got it. We have to, let's rank them. So episode 3.
Episode 3
So I would actually give the first episode a 7 out of 10.
out of 10 Stargates, you're giving it 7 out of 10.
I'm giving it just out of 10 Stargates. I'm giving it 7 gates. I don't know anything about Stargate. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10.
I would give it 7.5.
Oh, 7.5.
I have to because I gave the first episode 7.
You know what I think we're gonna
it's
find?
better
is
than the first
your,
episode.
Your range is there's gonna be a greater discrepancy between episodes. I think I'm always gonna stay around that just passing.
I have to give it 0.5. I wish I gave the first episode less now because this is
I agree. I felt the same. I watched this episode, and one of my first things I thought was, I wish I had ranked the first episode lower.
This is the high water mark. I'm almost sure for Tekwar. This is gonna be the high water mark.
Okay, so episode 4,
Episode 4,
I give it a 5.
I give it a 2.
Oh man, you hated it that much.
Oh man, it was unwatchable.
Did you watch them back to back, or did you take time?
I took about an hour and a half in between.
Not enough time.
The probably is
I
true.
did the same thing. I started and I stopped because I thought, this is too much Tekwar. I think we need a little break from each other.
I said it earlier. I like an episode, and the next one's just like, I hate it so much. And then the next one's like, yes, we're back. This is good Tekwar. And the next one, I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, I've kind of felt like meh the whole way. It's just a cheesy show, right? It's not going to get any better.
We'll see. I mean, I really do feel like episode 3 is the high water mark, but
You're probably right. Well, I just hope that maybe they'll make Sid the star of the show, because I think they're missing it.
oh, I agree. Sid, if they just made the show about Sid, I would like it so much more.
I agree.
Even if they kept the fact that he just loves donuts and tech.
Reboot.
Like technology.
It's him dealing with the refreezing of Cardigan. It's the new show, and it's him as he's a little bit older, he's a little bit wiser, but he's dealing with, essentially the death of his partner, and he's a little bit meaner, and his methods have gotten a little bit tougher. I think everyone will watch that. Tekwar 20. This is supposed to take place in what?
2045?
Yes, this is Tekwar 2070. But Trump is in his 4th term.
Tekwar.
I'm saying in a voice that makes it sound better. Ooh, I really want to watch this.
All right. That's it for this episode, I think. I think we're done.
Yeah.
If you want to say anything to us about these episodes, I'm not sure why, but you can. You can reach us at continuumdrag@gmail.com, on Twitter at continuumdrag, or even on Instagram at continuumdrag. And I think, Jordan, we'll probably get you to post some of these photos.
Yep.
Maybe even a YouTube video about that video game Tekwar has.
Sure.
There's all kinds of YouTube videos for some reason about that game. Anyway, thanks for tuning in.
See you next time.
Have a good one. Continuum Drag is recorded at Astrolab Studios in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Rick-Siedler. Produced by Jordan Delick and Luke Black. Special thanks to Adam Wheatner, Jeff Hanley, Emily Carter, and Dwayne Wright.